Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rankus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you, everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
We'll bring you the expert interviews, insightful discussions, and practical tips to make motherhood a little easier and help your family thrive.
Please keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to replace the advice, diagnosis, or treatment plans you have with your personal healthcare team. Please have a conversation with your trusted healthcare provider prior to making any changes or implementing any strategies or advice you learn from this podcast.
Whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Here at the Motherhood Alliance podcast, we challenge the status quo, ask the tough questions, and offer a supportive community for moms who want to make an informed, holistic choice.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a new 4-episode series with Betsy Wischer, a board-certified nurse practitioner who is doing some really important and cool things in women's health in Northeast Wisconsin. Betsy has a background in labor, delivery, and the NICU, and now owns WishLane, where she focuses on supporting women through everything from hormone shifts to pelvic floor concerns, especially during perimenopause and menopause. What we love about Betsy is that she doesn't dismiss symptoms, minimize concerns, or tell someone that their symptoms or discomforts are just normal aging and that they have to live with it. If something feels off, she takes it seriously. Outside the clinic, Betsy is a mom of 2, she's married to her middle school sweetheart, and she loves unplugging through hunting, reading, crafting, building Legos, and more. We're excited for you to learn from Betsy. She is so fun, and you're going to love her in these episodes. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new series. We are excited to welcome Betsy Wischer to the mic. Welcome, Betsy.
Thanks for having me.
Betsy is with WishLane, and we are going to be discussing all things perimenopause for 3 whole episodes. For those of you who are not yet to perimenopause, or are like, when does this thing start? Or should it be on my radar? Or those of you
what
who
is
are,
it?
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard of menopause. Well, what is perimenopause? So, Betsy, we always love to start out a new episode series talking about your fun fact and just getting to know our new guest a little bit. And your fun fact is that you've completed almost all of the Harry Potter Lego sets. Tell us about your Harry Potter obsession and your Lego obsession.
It wasn't something I planned to happen. My kids got a set and struggled with putting it together because it was a more complex set. So then, of course, I took over, and it honestly just snowballed from there. And I'm like, oh, there's so many sets. Like, this is a great hobby fixation that I can do forever. And now I don't really have any more sets to do because I fixated too hard.
Do you do other Lego sets as well, or is it really just the Harry Potter?
Really just Harry
theme?
Potter.
So
I've
you're
done some
a
of
huge
the
Harry
flower.
Potter fan.
I am.
Yeah.
And my husband has a sleeve of Harry Potter tattoos.
Okay.
And yeah, so that is our whole house. Everybody knows their designated house. We've done the quizzes and all the stuff. So it's like Harry Potter through and through.
So fun. Yeah, that's really fun. How old are your kids right now?
10 and 12.
Oh, yeah, mine too.
So do they try and help you with these sets at this point, or are you like, back off, this is my project?
Back off. They know not to bother me. Like, this is my fixation. So you have your sets. I have mine. Don't touch them.
So fun. I love how we, even as adults, we need to have fun hobbies and
we should.
and things that are even challenging our brains.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's super fun. Let's talk a little bit about your story, too, before we dive into perimenopause. I'd love to hear you're in wellness. You guys offer a lot of things at WishLane. Like, where did your story start? And then how have you gotten to where you are today?
So Shannon and I met at a previous employer a few years ago, and we literally just clicked, hit it off. Like, she didn't want to ever have a business partner. I never wanted to own a business. And so, of course, that's exactly what happened. And it's been fantastic just because we balance each other out. I became a nurse in 2013, went back to grad school to be a nurse practitioner, graduated in 2020. Most of my nursing career was labor and delivery and NICU. So women's health and that background has been my pillar. And honestly, like, that soapbox that I'll get on every time and just preach about because it's so important and missed and overlooked.
All right. Well, you have become known as someone who specializes in women's health in the Fox Valley area. So let's dive right into perimenopause, starting with the definition. What is it?
So that's going to vary on who you ask. And unfortunately, there is no great definition or defining marker. So it's this hormone transition from when we are going from our 20s and early 30s into that phase of menopause, but that transition. But there's no clear definition of that either. How long is it going to last? When's it going to start? don't know. So the best definition is just like it is that hormonal shift from one phase of our life to the next.
Okay. What is the average age that people might start experiencing different symptoms?
So it can start in your 30s. Most, I would say, are early 40s, mid 40s, because menopause is usually around 50, mid 50s. So anytime before then. And if you've had a hysterectomy or your tubes tied, that can be even earlier. So that's something to be mindful of, that when your mom went through it, it's usually your trend of when you're going to. But if you had an intervention, then it might be even earlier.
Okay. And then how long does perimenopause last? I mean, you said that that's quite a range. So if it could start for some people in their 30s, menopause is closer to 50 typically. And I know everybody's different, but like, can this be like a 10-year phase? Tell us more.
Yeah, because it's not just one hormone, it's all of them in conjunction and how they're fluctuating. So it's not like there's just a light switch that, okay, your estrogen's gone. You are now in that next phase. It's more of your body can't really figure out where the estrogen is. Like you have it some days you have more, some days you have less. And it's kind of that cascade of on that roller coaster, up and down until it's finally done. So for some women, it's a really quick transition. And for others, it's a few years and you don't even know you're in it because it might start as one symptom and then more join and then they get more severe. And then you're like, okay, that's what's happening. But you didn't know the several times, months, years before that because it could have been stress. It could have been sleep. It could have been just life.
Anything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's what's so confusing, especially with women's health. There's so many symptoms and stress and everything else that it gets confused with, hormone issues.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, let's start with the symptoms. What are some of like the most common symptoms? So if a woman is kind of like, gosh, I wonder if I'm starting to get into that phase, what are some of the most common ones? And then if you have a couple that are like maybe less common, that would be helpful too. I
would say weight gain's probably the one where women really start noticing, but they don't always associate it to like perimenopause, menopause. It's just, I'm getting older, so I'm gaining some weight. Because we've seen our moms do that. We've seen our friends do that. So we kind of throw it off to the side. Sleep. All of a sudden, we're not sleeping as good. It's harder to get into that deep sleep, and we're waking up and we're still tired every day. I would say the next one then is just our mood instability. So whether that's we're more anxious or depression or even just like short fused. I noticed that like I'm just like shorter equipped with my kids. And that reaction afterwards, like you back off and you're like, oh, I snapped a little.
Yeah.
And we start doing that more and more. And then it's our spouses. And then it just puts our relationships too in that harder spot because we're just edgy and prickly.
Yeah.
But we don't know why. And I'd say like those are the ones that people don't necessarily associate with perimenopause. So then they start seeking out other solutions, other problems. Less common ones, nobody ever wants to talk about libido and their sexual health because I think we're very hush-hush as a society. Nobody wants to talk about those things. And so then we end up doing it by ourselves. And so it's like, okay, you're not intimate with your partner. What's wrong with your marriage? And it's like, there's nothing wrong. It's hormonally, I'm out of balance. And so I want to do the thing, but I can't make my body want to do the thing. And that comes back then to like intimate health of painful intercourse or tissue laxity because we lose hormones and nobody wants to think about that. Your vaginal health, I mean, that's skin. And if we lose collagen everywhere else, why aren't we losing it there? Well, you are. And that's what then is plaguing into that. And it almost becomes like this snowball. One symptom then compounds with the next. And you just start to lose yourself and can't figure out why you feel so crummy in general.
Are people typically noticing period changes?
There can be, and so many of our people that come in honestly already have hormone issues like PCOS or endometriosis, so they've always have irregular cycles, so then it's hard to gauge that it changed. So you'll start to notice that your period comes, and this is also great, it's either more often or further apart. So it's like one or the other, and you're like, so both, and then they become heavy or they can get lighter, and so you're doing one or the other, which makes no sense.
So really any changes from your normal?
Yes. Once it starts to shift by like 7 days, but it's like, okay, what's 7 days? Most women have had a late period.
Yeah.
So how do I then gauge that was related to perimenopause or was it, again, stress? Stress can make our cycles change.
Yeah.
What you eat and drink can change your cycle. So there's so many factors that can change the symptoms that is completely not related to perimenopause or it is related to perimenopause. So you get one or both.
Yeah. That's really challenging. It's really challenging.
There's fairly frequent that I tell my husband, I wish we could just switch places for a period of time and just experience what it's like to be each other because sometimes being a woman can be
They wouldn't make it. They wouldn't survive. I mean, even just the internal monologue of what we go through and managing every aspect of everybody's day, they've done actually studies on that.
Yeah.
Men tap out very quickly.
They're just, their brains are built different. It's different.
They're very analytical and ours is more web.
Exactly. And that's, we're here to complement each other in that way. So, yeah.
At what point should someone be seeking help? Because you just mentioned 7 days of like a change potentially in your period. But if that happens like 1 month, it's like, well, maybe not quite a red flag yet. If it happens multiple months in a row, if we're kind of on this roller coaster and our hormones are just unpredictable, could you have a normal month and then an off month and then 2 normal months and then 2 off months? Like at what point do you decide something's going on here and I should seek help?
I would say if it starts affecting your day-to-day life of just happiness is your biggest indicator, because you don't want that snowball accumulating too much movement before you get an intervention. So if you're starting to notice that you're short with your spouse, short with your kids, you're not sleeping good because you're short with your kids, like those things start to compound. So if you're starting to notice that like life just seems kind of dull or lackluster, you're having a hard time finding the joy day to day, it's a good time to start. I'm also very proactive of, we don't know where we're going if we don't know where we came from. So trying to get lab work before there's any problems, just so you have a baseline. Because again, how do you know what's changed if you don't even know what they were before any changes started? That's a hard gauge.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So those of you who are listening that are in your 30s and feel like you're kind of steady Eddie, right?
Yeah.
It is a good idea to go and get some blood work done and just have that baseline. I like that. So in future episodes, we are going to be diving a little bit deeper into these topics. So I just want to mention that, like, we already touched a little bit on intimacy and hormones. We're going to have our entire second episode is going to be about that. And then we are going to have a whole episode about solutions. So if you're kind of sitting here going, crap, well, like, what do you do about this? Okay, we're going to have a whole separate episode set on that.
We're also going to be talking about men too.
Yes.
Which is something that nobody ever talks about. So we mentioned men, they're different. They have different, they obviously have the same hormones, but it's going to be different for them. So they kind of go through something too.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm very interested to hear that topic as well.
But while we're here on this one, kind of just getting a 10,000 foot view, like, what are the options for seeking help? Can you go to your OB? Should you be going to your PCP? But then functional wellness probably has a different approach. So, like, tell us about the different options people have.
So a lot of times people will try to go to OBGYNs or their PCPs, and they don't get very far because there's a limit of what labs those providers will do because of insurance. So if they can't prove medical necessity, it's really hard to get all of the labs. So it's a great starting point, just asking for some general lab work. And patients can always bring that to their functional medicine doctor so we can kind of piece in what's missing. But first and foremost, try there, because some of them are really great about staying on top of new upcoming treatment options and what those look like for patients. If you feel like you're not being heard, then functional medicine tends to be that space that kind of mends traditional medicine with homeopathic and alternative. There are lots of options around the Fox Valley that you can go to. And so find a provider that you vibe with, because you want somebody that you feel like they are listening and they can kind of help guide you what that roadmap is going to look like. But sometimes that they are the best starting point. If you feel like you've already just aren't being listened to great, then functional medicine through and through. I do tell clients, like, hey, if you can find an NP or a PA, female, 45 or younger, they tend to be more open to those alternative medicine options. So not saying that that's a across the board standard, but it tends to be where I see people have the most luck of getting help outside of functional medicine.
Now, whether they go to their PCP or they go to functional medicine, I know that we have talked off the mic a little bit about how people can get their labs back and they can show as normal, but they're still struggling.
Yes.
So what do you do then? Like, walk us through that.
There's a big problem in healthcare that we base labs off of. So that range that you see on your My chart, where it's like if you're in range or not, that range is the average of everyone who's been tested. Who typically gets tested? People who don't feel good. So now we're basing a range off of that data pool when we're not focusing on where are you optimal. So that's where functional medicine tends to play a lot too, that you might be out of range when we do our intervention, because that's actually where your body is going to feel its best. So don't be deterred just because your labs are in range and there's no red flags on your My chart. Just because it's in range does not mean it's optimal and does not mean it's the perfect spot for you.
I feel like, because I've heard the word optimal before, right? And so I've gotten labs done fairly recently. And when I was looking at it, I'm like, I don't feel like that, like vitamin D is optimal. So even if you type in Google, optimal vitamin D levels, functional medicine, like you do something like that.
You're going to get ranges all over the board.
You're going to get a lot of ranges. But I can tell you that when I did that, it was not the same as traditional, what they say is normal. And I'm like, that needs to change. So it's just it's a starting point. Obviously, working with somebody is going to tell you a lot more. But
the more data you have, and most functional medicine providers are continuously investing in their education and training so that we stay on top of new research and that we know the best information, because there is no school, just like functional medicine. Like there's certifications all across the board, but there is no then overseeing body that then credentials a lot of that. So it's on our own to do the work, to take the initiative, to dig into that and give the best results to our clients.
Now, we are going to be going into non-surgical solutions in a little bit, but if somebody is just kind of starting to see some symptoms or just really wants to get through perimenopause and menopause naturally, is there anything you can do at home to help minimize symptoms? Is there something 100%. About nutrition, exercise? Okay, tell us about that.
So it's full circle, full body, just like you said, thinking about foods. There are foods that help balance out our metabolism. There's foods that help balance out our hormones. Like soy is a great natural supplement that people can take to help with perimenopause, menopause symptoms. Does great with hot flashes. Exercise routines and adjusting them for that phase of your life. Like while we're in our normal cycles, week to week, you should change your workout based on whether you're in the luteal phase or whether you're in the ovulation phase. Same thing for perimenopause. Like we know that we are recovering differently, so then we can have different foods and different exercises that support that transition. So it's totally doable. But I would say try to find a dietitian or functional medicine that really hones in on that, because a lot of fitness people don't necessarily know that or think about that piece. So it's something that you definitely can do. And there's some great supplements out there that help with mood stability, like ashwagandha and lion's mane. Like there are great alternatives. There is not a cookie cutter across the board for everything. I could give the same intervention to 100 different women and I'm going to have 100 different outcomes. So also don't get deterred by that either. That it's just because it's not a miracle the first go around. Keep trying, keep giving your provider that benefit of the doubt to find and hone in on what your body needs to optimize that.
Well, what's challenging too is kind of what we talked about before is your body's changing throughout this whole time period. So sometimes you have months where your cycles are normal and then your hormones look great, and then sometimes not so much. So it's really great to work with somebody like you or a functional medicine provider that can help with, understanding where you're at different phases too.
That you're not just crazy.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to 40. This is just how it's going to be now indefinitely.
Yeah,
it sounds
I know.
awful.
Well, and it comes to a point where you were talking before. It reminded me, I'm like, if you're not sleeping well, if you're just snappy at your kids, that's not normal. You shouldn't feel that way. So if you're feeling like, I don't like how I feel, this is not normal, find somebody to help.
Yeah, that I think we get stuck in that pigeonhole of this is just how it is. Mm-hmm. And we don't talk about the negative, because we see on social media, everybody's happy, right? The perfect mom that's doing all the crafts, all the baking, all the school activities. And if we're not doing that, then I'm not doing it right. And it's like, no. And you don't have to doing your day-to-day routine. It's okay. Some days you like it, some days you don't. But if you're struggling to get through that day-to-day, if you're struggling to take care of your kids or find that bonding moment, don't think that you're doing mom wrong. Being a mom's hard enough. And then you throw in hormones and it's good luck.
And most of us, like I said earlier, I'm almost 40. My kids are 10 and 12. They're going to start getting into the teenage phase. I'm going to be in full perimenopause, and by the time they're in graduating, menopause possibly, right?
Yeah.
And so you're getting hit, generally speaking, a lot of women are getting hit with that perimenopause hormone fluctuations when their kids are in their own hormone fluctuations. Mm-hmm. So it can be chaos, right?
Truly chaos.
So it's kind of one of those things where, you have to really just take care of yourself and think about what's the best for you and reach out to the right people.
I like to tell moms all the time, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So figure out, Legos, haha, joke. That is what fills my cup. I will sit down and hyperfixate on that all weekend long. And then I come back more rejuvenated and calm.
I love that.
And can take on the next thing. Make sure you are finding your thing that fills your cup, because you cannot keep doing for everyone else if your gas tank's empty.
Yeah.
One more question in this episode for kind of a certain population that I want to make sure we're not forgetting is for those who are trying to still get pregnant and they're in like their 40s, but their hormones are kind of all over the place and they're already having like some perimenopause symptoms, but they are still getting a period. Like, do you have any tips for them on fertility?
You need an expert. Fertility and hormones across the board is already difficult. Perimenopause is difficult. Coming from being a surrogate 10 years ago, is it bad that I already lost count how long ago that was? The regimen that you get put on and the medications and the side effects, like it's a lot. So imagine cycling through that while doing perimenopause while trying to get pregnant. Like, it's stressful. Try not to fixate on it, which obviously sounds way easier said than done. But trying to decrease your stress is probably the best thing you can try to do to then get pregnant, because your cycles and everything, your cortisol, everything balances out when you're less stressed. So first and foremost, find something that keeps you calm and resets your boundaries and your batteries and refills your cup. It's going to be the best thing for you to get pregnant.
Well, I've heard so many stories of like moms who they're trying to get pregnant and then, maybe they adopt or something like that. And then all of a sudden they're pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that pressure comes off.
Yes.
Because you want to get pregnant. So that's all you're fixating on. And you're matching your cycles and trying to make sure that you are in your ovulation window when you're trying. And I know plenty of friends, 2 IVF babies and then got pregnant spontaneously 3 times.
Yep.
Because the stress came off. The pressure came off because now you have a kid. So you're not thinking about it so much. So much of fertility is a mental game. But then that also makes you feel guilty.
Yeah.
Because I'm not pregnant this month. So I did something wrong. And it just snowballs. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But that's why we're having these conversations, right? Because a lot of people sit alone in these thoughts.
And I think that's where WishLane, I think, at least in my treatment room, like I should put like life coach on my shirt, because I've been through so much, even though I'm 34, coming up on 35, done a lot of life. Like, there's nothing that you could say in my room that is going to catch me off guard, that I haven't heard before, that I can't give you at least some feedback for. But I'm always going to be 100% transparent in my background, my history, my life experience, because so many times we don't talk about it. So then we're suffering in silence. Now, whether that's miscarriages, fertility issues, struggles in our marriage, we all want to come out and present this picture perfect image on social media and to our friends and family. If we talked about it more, we'd find out how many more of our friends have also gone through the same crap, and that we could support each other better because we're just transparent and honest and upcoming with it. Because what does suffering alone do you?
Mm-hmm.
It just makes it worse.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, I'm excited to continue these conversations. Like I said, this is just kind of an intro into perimenopause, so we can all kind of have this baseline heading into the next 2 episodes specifically. And then, like we mentioned, our 4th episode is going to be for the guys. It's going to be about andropause. But before we finish out this one, can you just share a little bit more about WishLane? What do you guys offer there? Tell us about how can people get in contact with you?
So myself and my business partner, we're both nurse practitioners. I'm family practice. She's adult gero, so we really can cover birth to death. And because of that, we then specialize in that functional medicine piece, optimizing your health and wellness, digging down the rabbit hole that your primary care might not want to. We have the ability to do whatever tests and labs we want to because we're not dealing with insurance. We cover the gamut, whether it's gut health, PCOS, endometriosis, autoimmune disorders. We have the ability to hyperfixate on those things and figure out the puzzle. Like, it's a fun job. And so we're right off the corner of Northland and Ballard in Appleton. Phone number 920-512-8822. You can call or text us. So most people prefer texting. I'm like, hey,
that's awesome.
You have a random thought, quit, text it.
I love it.
We're busy.
Well, most people love text. I mean, I love being able to text to my, oil change guy, and I want to, you know what I mean?
Convenience. Yeah. And you have access to myself and Shannon, who's my business partner. Like, we answer the phones a lot. Or that way, too, if you have a medical question, cool, shoot me a text. I'm going to answer. Now, if it's 2 a.m., I'm not going to answer until I'm in the office, but I'll answer. You have access to us like a concierge service because we know how healthcare is. We're all frustrated by it. So how do we do it better?
I love that.
And you do offer like a free consult, right?
Yes.
So if somebody just wants to call and ask some questions, just give you a buzz.
Pick our brain. We give you a whole hour to go over everything. So we want you to have that time to not feel pressured of like, hey, I got to run through my stuff. Nope. You get the whole hour. So hit us.
That's amazing.
Ask us anything. It's all your time and an open space.
Perfect. Love it. thank you for sharing about perimenopause in this episode. Like I said, we're heading straight into part 2. Just a heads up, everybody, part 2 may not be for the littler ears. We are going to be talking a little bit more about intimacy and stuff like that. Not super in depth, but they may be hearing some things that you'd have to have some additional conversations around. So just a heads up on that. Episode 3 is going to be diving into the solutions of perimenopause if you are seeking something outside of your home. And then 4th episode for the guys in our life, andropause, what's happening to them as they get older. So super awesome episodes coming up. If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time, and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.